The first thing I want to talk about is what has been going on with AUD USD. So we looked at it yesterday, and we were looking for the candle, this one here, this green one, I think. No, sorry. One of these other ones to close, and it was actually this one. And we wanted it to not break down below any farther. We did want to see it have a doji in order to get in that buy entry. We did not see that happen, so I hope that no one ended up buying that. We did not see what we were looking for, and it was not good for the buy. So in that scenario, it's just an even. You shouldn't have entered. Why did this come up? So one other thing that happened after our session, we saw this really, really strong hammer here. So that's where, just a quick reminder, that's where you see a very long top wick, a very small bottom wick, and also a pretty small body. So that's exactly the definition of what this is right here. So if I bring over the circle just to show exactly, because that happened, because it also broke this, our pitchfork line, we would say that this is now most likely good to short. However, I would not short this myself because although this hammer was really, really strong because it's so large, it was not at a new high by any means. It was only a new high for the last 5 or 6 candles on the chart. So that would not fulfill requirements of being a new high doji such as this one up here. While if we did catch this one up here in the top, this one, whoops, a little off. I meant this one's really, really nice because on this doji, its top wick is the highest point for a very, very long time. It's not the absolute high on the long term, but it is pretty high overall. So just a quick thing that I want to point out for why we are no longer buying AUD, at least for now. It did bounce off. Excuse me. It did bounce off the 786 really, really well, which it also did there. So we definitely could see some upward movement. In fact, I think that it's hard to say what it's going to do because now there's conflicting information. We see this really strong hammer, but we also see a double bottom right here. And it also broke outside of the pitchfork. So let's go ahead and ignore AU for now. And let's move on to, let's look at the pound really quick. Let's see what happened. Today, I do want to talk about crypto just a little bit and see what's going on with that. So again, if you would have placed the alert from yesterday that we had, I showed you all how to make a trend line alert or a small trend line alert. That would have gotten triggered, and you would have known to check it at the end of that hour. And you would have seen that it completely broke that trend line as well. Essentially, why all our trend lines were breaking is because AUD USD and GBP USD, the Australian dollar versus the US dollar, and the pound versus the US dollar, they both have the US dollar second. So what ended up happening is, I'm assuming based off these two charts, I haven't even checked it yet, the DXY probably went up because we saw both charts went down just on the last day. Let's go ahead and check if we're right. So last day, since the blue line, yes, it definitely went up. So we did see that potential for it to go down yesterday because it was at the 618 golden zone level. But now we saw that it came up a little above the box, but it was a pretty close box, and is off by, let's be really precise. How much were we off by? I'm looking at this doji here. By literally 1 tick. Okay, that's not so bad. So off by 1 whole tick. we were wrong about the DXY with that, and but we do now see. Let me remove the box so you can see a little clearer. Let's look at what kind of doji this is. Is it it has the higher top wick and the smaller bottom wick. And this is not necessarily a hammer because the bottom wick is too large. However, it is it's still relevant. It's what I kind of call I call it an upside down cross because that's what it looks like. So an upside down cross usually leads to downward movement. So I think that we are finally good for the short on the DXY now based off the Japanese candlesticks alone. We definitely want to have more confirmations though if we're looking for that. So one thing is this might, the top here, I'm eyeballing it. It looks like it might be at the 88.6. Let's see if we add in the 88.6 to our chart where that ends up. So I'm just going to replace this one, 0.886, and check it. Don't forget to do that. And we see it's exactly where it is. So if we look at the top of the wick here, the 86, it finished, the body was around the single square root of the 618, which is 786, and the top of the wick finished exactly at that the double square root of the golden ratio, which is the 88.6. So because of that, that is definitely a relevant reversal point. I don't expect to see price come above this. However, if we do, it would be very strong. So I could see it testing the 886 again. I'm not saying necessarily right now is the best time to get in or anything like that. But I would see, oh, didn't mean to move the whole thing. I would expect to see that being the top. I'd be pretty surprised if it wasn't, just because of what a clean hit, clean Japanese trading style. Very, very nice. So moving on from that, I do want to look at Bitcoin, which we don't usually go over, but that's the main thing I want to focus on today. Wait, someone said something. Wait, quick question. Is there... I use LMFX primarily. If you go on my YouTube channel, I always put the link for it at the bottom of the videos. If you want to use that as well, that would help me out too. I would appreciate it if you did that. So let's go ahead and look at BTCUSD. Shut the fuck up. So let's look at Bitcoin. We can use, I'm using Coinbase. Let's use the other one, Bitfinex actually. Can we look at XRP? Yeah, sure, we can look at that. So I'm looking at it just from primarily a technical standpoint. We're not going to look so much at the fundamentals. Oh, this is shorts. Whoops. I was wondering why it looks so funny. Didn't see that. We can just do the Coinbase one. That's fine. So before, on a previous session, we had the triangle, the long-term triangle. It wasn't even that clean because these tops weren't even hitting the triangle. So I'm not sure why we even had that there. I would instead rather make a smaller triangle like this. Something like that looks a lot better to me. Overall, the message is the same. It took till the very, very tip of it, which is kind of funny. We had that there for over a month, I think. And that just so happened to be almost exactly where it started to initially go down. Of course, that wasn't the full movement. It did go up a little bit more from there. And then it made the real movement down afterwards. So looking at Bitcoin, what can we see from from things like the Japanese trading style. Is that still relevant on crypto? You bet it is. So right here, recently, we could have gone over this yesterday. We see that we have the dragonfly down there as well, which the bottom is obviously the absolute low for a long time before that. That wasn't until, looks like, mid-September of 2017 was the last time it's been that low. And we also see the dragonfly. So it is looking pretty good on that front. With this being an accurate low, because the dragonflies are usually at the bottom and the hammers are usually at the top. So if we pull out a retracement from the beginning of the movement, the very highest point of the beginning of the movement, and we bring it all the way down to the bottom of the dragonfly, do we see a lot of levels matching up? Now, I haven't even looked at this yet, but already I'm seeing quite a few levels. We see in here. We see this level. I'm just gonna highlight a couple of them. Actually, I can highlight all of them because there's not that many. It went down so quickly. Actually, that might, it looks like it's it. So, what is my YouTube channel? If you look on the Slack, I posted the recording from yesterday. I posted that to my YouTube channel. So some things to note when looking at dragonflies: you don't want to get tricked by fake ones. And this is a really good key example of a fake one. The only reason why it's fake is because this one right here, I'm using the same thing. Let's use a box instead for this one. So this dragonfly I highlighted here, that is a dragonfly. However, if you look at the bottom, it was beaten out by this one here as well. Now this wouldn't be a classical dragonfly. That's something different just because there's 0 top wick and dragonflies have a little bit of a head, essentially. So it's not a real dragonfly, while this one is. Now, that does not mean I cannot see price going down further. However, I do expect price to, at least for now, go up from where it is short to medium term. I'm not necessarily bullish on Bitcoin. I don't think it'll make new highs by any standard, but I could see it coming up to the 0.5 to the 1618 at least before you see a bounce. Sunil's long, so that's Sunil's probably a better crypto trader than myself, honestly. So you should probably listen to him. And overall, let's see what else we can see. Sunil, why are you long on Bitcoin? It's got to be more than just the. Is it just because the future fib and then also the oversold? Yeah, that makes sense too. So we have, so if it's oversold, we also see the dragonfly and we also see the future fibs lining up for this being the absolute bottom. That's at least 3 confirmations right there that we would want to see price go up from here. Stop it. Yeah, that makes sense. Just having, I really don't expect it to go any lower than this. And then if we do, what was the other thing? There was something else I found earlier on this one that was making a lot of sense. What if we use, have you checked if there's any pitchforks that work really well with this point? Let's see if we maybe do, it's so steep. It's kind of hard to determine. Let's see. I might have it backwards. Yeah, I have it backwards. So when making your pitchforks, you got to make sure you have them the right direction. No, that doesn't work at all. Let's see if any other ones work. So this is the best one I see, and it's still not that good. We see some, this is probably the pitchfork it's currently using. It's just so steep. It's really hard to say. Like Sunil said, it's really oversold right now. We do see the median line being respected a couple of times, including right now. However, it could easily break up. If you are going to buy this, I like what Sunil said as well, with having the stop below the bottom point here too. I'm trying to see if I can find anything else with this. It's a little hard to go off of just because there's nothing that has been even close this low for a while. It almost halved in price from just a couple of days ago. If you look at the actual price level, which is really, really big deal on any kind of currency, including crypto. You're targeting 4K. Oh, so just the 236 mark? That makes sense. Yeah, let's check and see if we have any PRPs around that level. So let's see if we make this, and we go way back to September of 17. And we can see that, wow, that's almost perfect. Look at all these bounces on that same level. I'm liking this point as well. We see a lot of bodies and wicks on both sides, support and resistance for this point. I'm actually not familiar with the dead cat bounce, to be honest. I'm not sure what that means. But if you are, so right now, probably, if you're aiming for that level, right now is probably not the best time to get in. You might want to wait a little bit in case it goes down, because when you, oh, okay. Because you want to probably a little bit below as well, just in case it bounces off too. And that's an okay ratio. It's a ratio of 1.6 from current. So if you're not already in this one, I wouldn't recommend getting in right now, at least. You probably want to wait for a little better entry. You got in at 3, 6, 13. Yeah, that's significantly better than current. So you get into that. Let's turn on auto again. Oh, okay, Bitfinex. Oh, how weird. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I'm not super familiar with crypto. I just want to try it out. Today is actually the first session I've ever done on cryptos. I just wanted to look and see, because I've just been hearing so much about it with the huge downfall it had recently. So also, Wayne wanted to look at XRP. So we can come back to Bitcoin, but let's look at XRP for now. So it's XRPUSD, which is the Ripple. We can do Bitfinex. So what is this? I don't have my Instagram on here. So let's see. One thing I noticed off the bat that I want to test is using the extended trend line with the magnet tool, getting that low, and then, okay, that's not even close. I don't know why I was checking that. Neither is that one. So these lines have not been hit yet. This would be the next one. This could be a possible piercing trend line. We do see, oh, why does it look so bad? We see that the bodies were respecting it as well. So this would be a valid piercing trend line. It gets so distorted sometimes because for a while we see absolutely near zero movement, and then we see this giant movement, and it makes this look like nothing. So I don't know. Let's go ahead and delete this stuff because this is obviously irrelevant. I don't have so many close lines in here too. All these entries. Let's actually, we can just remake that one line just to be quicker. So let's pull that up, and then also we can get the classic Fibonacci, and we definitely want this as the bottom. We want to turn off magnet tool. I definitely want this as the bottom because if you look at this, it's also a dragonfly, the doji, and that's kind of funny. Right where price is at is also where it was. So we see that the dragonfly actually that's at the exact same time as the Bitcoin one as well. So we see that nice movement. This should also be the absolute bottom. We're a little bit off. Let's go ahead and correct this. I like to be very precise. There we go. And then I'm using this high right now for the absolute high. Let's see if this matches up pretty well versus we could also potentially use this as the high, the more recent initial downward movement. So we see just a little bit there. That's not even that good. I don't see a lot of good hits. We see some hits, but these are decent and there. And I like that one too, but that's pretty much it. Let's see if this other high works better. So this one I'm liking a lot more. We see that as the high. Okay, never mind. I mean, we only see, neither of these are excellent. This is interesting. We do see very recently there was an immediate downtrend with the doji. Not a good one because again the bottom did not was not the lowest point from prices before that, but because of that, going off what we know about Bitcoin as well, they usually move somewhat together. We can see we should see a little bit of a bounce. Any chance you can look at AN if they're, yeah, we can look at AUD NZD as well. So let's see. I wonder if we pull up a pitchfork on this chart, if it'll be any better than the Bitcoin one. Not really at all. Yeah, there's no way of doing this that I see is really working out very well. This is backwards again. There's no excellent place to even put that one unless you do this. And even that's not very good. That's just really ugly. Oops. Let's check and see if there's any better version. I like that one a lot more. That's way better. because we have the median line hit. I'll highlight what I'm talking about. This median line hit here, as well as this really nice bounce from the red candle. The dragonfly did pierce it just a little bit. And then we also have a couple of intermediate bounces as well. So I think this is the actual pitchfork it's currently going off of. And if that's true, we would want to see price come up to at least the median line again. However, I could easily see this breaking, going up to even the 618 would not be ridiculous at all. Probably going to this other green dotted line up here. What would be really nice is if price came in right into the crotch, right there. So I would say that's something that I would want to set a notification for. So again, same thing as we did yesterday. Really slight. I'm gonna make it a bigger, a little bigger. So for this one, if you want to get notified only right there if it hits, because if it hits there, then it's very likely to be good for the short after that point if it has any other confirmation as well. So you want to look for either any kind of doji or also some sort of price reversal point. I'm not sure. We haven't checked that yet. We can check that now as well. So all you have to do is you go to the clock symbol, and then you want to say XRPUSD. Oops. Look for short. You say check for doji to. So then you can have that as an alert. However, this is a fairly longer term out alert. If you have more immediate alerts and you have the free version, like of this account that I'm on right now, then you might not want to have it on just yet. Just keep it in the back of your mind, or you can always use the other one. You can use, what's that called again? Call levels. Just to have a general notification of the price level. On call levels, you can't have it where it starts later as well, which would be nice, but you can't do that with that app. So let's go ahead and look at, what's this? From Anderson Pitchfork, is it more? I think that we went over it maybe like 3 sessions ago on my YouTube channel. Or I can even make a video specifically for it in the future. If you could you go on the most recent YouTube video and just let me know that you want to see a pitchfork video, Dominic? If you can do that, then that would remind me to actually record one, and then I can have that on there and make a specific video for it. Okay, yeah, let's look at AUD NZD. So on the zoomed out view, we see that it looks like it might be reversing, but at least it was on an overall downtrend. But this is also looking potential like a reverse head and shoulder, something of that nature, where it would be a reversal. So I actually wanted to check what it looks like on higher time frames, just the daily. So nothing great on this one. Again, AUD NZD is, I don't know if it's an exotic necessarily, but I think it's just a minor currency pair. Yeah, actually, I'm for certain because they're both majors. So this is a minor currency pair, not a big one either, but you can't use everything that you'd be able to use on major currency pairs for this one, just because it's not traded quite as much. So let's see what happens if we bring out the extend trend line with magnet tool on from the recent low to this low here. Does that hit any lows before that? It's really close. It's really, really close for a lot of these. So that would indicate that this would be, that's one confirmation that you could say this is an actual low. Of course, these hits are not perfect. We see it come really, really close these others 3 times, but without just barely missing the price there. So that would lead me to want to put in a buy for this one. Something I noticed as well for all the other lows, we see a pretty similar daily candlestick. If you look at this candlestick that made the at least recent low, we don't know if it's a real low or not. We also see a very similar one on this red candle over here for that low. We don't see one for this one. But on this one, that's pretty similar as well for that low on the red candlestick. And lastly, for this one, also pretty similar. Just where we see the long top wick, pretty distinct. At least long wick in general. These ones are long bottom wicks, but that other one had a long top wick as well. So we do see a long bottom wick with this candle, and that would be indication that it really likes this diagonal trend line. It might be going into a wedge. Let's see if we can pull up the triangle tool for that and see how good it looks. So making a wedge out of this, I would put it about there. And we see a lot of really good hits on both the top and the bottom of this wedge. I'm really liking that a lot. So one thing that people like to do in wedges, they like to trade the breaks. It's generally how you trade wedges. You don't usually necessarily buy the bounces so much, but that's definitely something that you can do. We might have time for UJ. We might be able to fit that in Jack. So right now, I am bullish on AUD NZD at least until it hits around 110 or so, a little more than that, 110.50 probably. Let's go ahead and look on the 4-hour again. So on the 4-hour, this is kind of interesting. We see that the candle is actually green on the 4-hour instead of red on the daily for the one that hit off of the point, the bottom. And let's see, what else can we see? Let's pull up the normal Fibonacci retracement. So checking with future fib, we do see some nice hits. I'm going to go ahead and delete the wedge for now. We all see the wedge. We know how to make the wedge. Let's see, can I just hide it? I mean, what's the difference between hiding and deleting? Okay, never mind. So if we use the Fibonacci and we're looking for points that it bounces off of within the chart, we see some good hits. Let me turn off minute tool because it's so annoying. All throughout here. Wait, I thought I just turned it off. It's weird. So there's lots and lots of hits right here. There's at least 4. And then we also see some body hits right there, really close to that one. I'm not gonna highlight all of them because there's too many. This is too nice. So because there's so many of the hits on previous Fibonacci levels within this pair, this would lead me to believe even further that this is indeed the actual bottom.
See ya. Have a good one.
Let me also see, just want to get a couple on each level. So it's also pretty low within this the Fibonacci channel, meaning that in between these two levels here, in between the 0 and the 236, it's lower. So right now might not be an awful time to place a buy. Same with Bitcoin. We want to put the stop loss a little below the previous low, which right now is about 60 pips away, maybe about 50. I put it a little bit low, maybe, which is a lot more than most people are used to. Most people aren't used to 60 pip stop losses. That's generally not how people trade. However, I'm a very long-term trader. I'm very comfortable using 60 pip stop losses because I adjust the amount of leverage I'm using for how far away the stop loss is. And that's more of an advanced technique. That is something I go over more on private sessions, more than on these sessions, for exactly how much leverage to use with that. So you wouldn't want to use you want to use a little bit less than what you're used to for a 60 pip stop loss if you're not used to that much. So if you do, I would say your first take profit would probably be at the golden zone. So if you do that a little let's do a little before, like this. This is a trade. So I don't see any particular reason, literally right now, so far at least, why right now would be the best time to take this trade. And because of that, I'm not going to take it right now. I may have a buy limit a little bit lower or something of that nature. We can look at that a little more, Jack. So this ratio, again, this is long term. It would be probably longer out than this. I don't think it'd be this quick within that many days. This is till December 10th. I think it'll take longer. So in total, how many pips is this? If we did get in now and we did exit at the golden zone, excuse me, that'd be 308 pips versus 60. So that's a ratio of 5.37. So 5.37 to 1, meaning that if you took equal size trades, now you can't always do this, especially if you're over leveraging, you definitely can't do this 5 times. One of them we win, 4 of them you lose, you would actually be net positive on this trade. Now, I don't necessarily see the price stopping there at the golden zone necessarily. We do see a lot of price action there. We do see a lot of comfortable area within price. It's moving sideways a lot in that zone. It looks like the 0.5 would probably be a safer exit. A safer exit because of that. Getting out before you even reach the zone where everything is moving sideways, which isn't such a bad trade either. That one's, of course, not quite as good of a ratio. It's only 4.15 to 1, but that's still pretty good. That means, you take 4 trades, you win 1, you lose 3, you're net positive. And this one's very likely because I see a lot of points. I didn't highlight all of them. There's a lot I didn't highlight just because I got tired of highlighting so many of the points. There's even more within there of both support and resistance within that level. So if you were looking to take this trade, I would probably suggest putting your TP1 at a little below this 0.5. So that's still 240 pips. Not too bad for a take profit one. I would recommend putting on 3 trades instead of just the 1 trade because there's not a huge reason other than the PRP and the 0.5 to get out in this zone here. And it's not ridiculous to say that It could even make new highs. And that's something interesting. However, I did notice that, barely within just the wick did break the norm from this bottom trend line. And because of that, I also don't think it's very unlikely to see price just fall down at this point in the long term. And if we zoom out even more, we see that this could be a pull. Let me mark it. This could be the pull. And then if we bring, can we do that? No. If we bring back that wedge would make this an upward flag. Does everyone understand why it's an upward flag? It's not necessarily a strong upward flag because the highs are also getting a little bit lower throughout time. However, the bottoms are really, really consistent increasing. There's a lot more of the bottoms. So because of that, I could see this going either way. I could see it coming back up, but more likely this is just going to fall down a little more. I think the most likely scenario is they'll try to trick everyone because that's what the market likes to do. It likes to come up here to the 1618 level. And then after that, it then comes down farther. And I mean farther by not this far, but much, much, much farther. More like down here. That's what I think the most likely thing is to happen. This is something you would definitely need technicals for just because it's such a large movement. If you were able to get a short at that 1618 level there, then and you got out here, this is a little bit of an arbitrary point that I made. It's just an estimate, but it'd be roughly 2,800 pips or so. Very long term. We're not even looking for an entry until 2020 or so, maybe even later. So that's a little too far in the future to speculate accurately with that, but I do see that as one of the most likely scenarios just based off of technical analysis. And it wouldn't necessarily have to take that long, but this is not something I see happening even within the year because the year is almost over. So that'd be pretty unlikely to have that high of a spike. I'm not saying it's impossible, just unlikely. So Jack did want to look at UJ, and we have 14 minutes. So let's go ahead and look at UJ really quickly. UJ is USDJPY. So if we look at UJ, this is kind of funny. We have already on here. This is the Fibonacci ratio. This is a good refresher. I want to go over this really quickly, and then we can actually look at UJ. This is something different. So if you're not familiar with the Fibonacci sequence, this is not the ratio, but the sequence. It's where you start with the number 1 and you go down. So it starts with 1, and then you add the 2 previous numbers to get the next number. So 1 plus nothing before it is 1 again. So that's why there's 2 1s. And then 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. You get the point. And so on. And that goes on forever. And essentially that's how you get the 618 ratio. Because to calculate the next number, to calculate the previous number, you take, for example, 5 divided by 3, that's 0.6. So because it's pretty early in the sequence, because the sequence goes on forever, it's indefinite. That's really early. It's one of the very first numbers. It's not super close to 618. It's 0.60. That's fairly close. But as you continue, as you get into numbers in the billions of digits, you approach the ratio 618 when when going even further down. If you want to be even more specific, sometimes I do this to my charts. You can actually incorporate the whole number, or not the whole number, just a little bit more. You can do 0.334 if you want. TradingView does support that. Oops, I meant 3.4, not 3.34. And it's the same. It won't even look different sometimes. Oh, it does actually. Never mind. So it looks a little funny now on the chart. So it's very close. It has a 0 next, so it's pretty much the same number. Not super important to do this. It's 618 is a great estimation of the ratio anyways. And of course, that's not where it stops. There's many, many more digits within the actual golden ratio. So now looking at UJ again, I don't know if this was before or after. That's accurate though. So looking at UJ a little more closely on the daily chart, we saw that nice 0.5 hit. And then on this one, let's add 0.886. Again, that one's not even accurate either. It's a little off as well. When we add the 0.886, then we can actually make this an accurate Fibonacci. We see it came really close. It actually didn't hit. Not yet, at least. So go on to the 4-hour instead on UJ. If you're going to look for a UJ trade, I would say, based off what we know from the US dollar, from looking at DXY earlier, we think that the DXY should be going down, meaning that UJ should be going down. I do potentially see it coming up just a little bit more to hit that 886 mark. So if we were to make a trade out of this one, we'd use our entry. Our entry would be there. Our stop loss, oops, wrong color. Stop loss would be above here significantly, not just above, because I don't know why that didn't place. Not just above because we're getting into a sell, your stop loss has to account for a spread at any given time. So you have to put way above to count the spread as well for allowing one last equal hit off of the same high, which is what you want basically. So this looks red. Where's that level? It's not. Is it? It shouldn't be red. It is red. Never mind, it was red. Okay, so this is our entry, this is our stop loss. Our stop loss distance is how many pips? Very normal trade, 43 pips. Now again, blue is just a price reversal point. Don't pay any attention to that for trading purposes. Now, where would our take profits be if we're looking for a UJ trade? Well, I would say let's make another fib, and basically an intermediate fib from the high, not the current high, but the high we expect. And if we put that there, we can also use future fib tactics to see if that's an accurate top. And I'm not seeing too much. We see it hit there. It's not looking too great, honestly. So that leads me to believe this might not be the actual top. It obviously could still. Future fib is not 100% accurate. We do see some hits within it anyways. It's also not perfect. But this might not be the true top because of that. So from wherever the actual top is, this would have to be adjustable. Let's see if we can find a place. It's kind of hard to see because there's two fibs overlapping. I like that, actually. What if we move that as our entry? Let's delete the other fib for now so we can have a cleaner view. Because this is obviously the low. If this was the high using future fib tactics, No. A sell limit. Yes, a sell limit. Let's make this really nice. So I like this exactly right here. So our entry went a little below, just in case we're a little off, a little below that line. So where the orange one is, and now we're risking less too. It's less likely to hit. It's not guaranteed to hit by any stance. But if it does, it's only a 33 pip, 34 pip stop loss. That's fairly tight, but not too tight. So, and the reason why is there's a lot better future fib tactics on this one. I think you can already see that. I won't have to highlight that because I've been doing that a lot in this session. Then of course we want to see the downward after that. And so take profits, right? So let's put in the negative 0.618 and check it so we can actually see where it is. So this level here, is that a PRP? This is my chat's in the way. It's okay. It's not great. I don't love where that is, but we definitely want to see new lows compared to this low. This is not a strong low by any stance. Because of that, I would say 618 is probably still relevant. So that can still be our first take profit. And this risk reward ratio is insane. Let's see what it is. So we're going to get the short position, where this is going to be our entry right here. Our stop loss is nowhere near that. The stop loss is here. And I'd take profit be a little above, actually significantly above, because remember for sells, you have to account for spread. You get out on the worst level, the level you cannot see. So you'd want your take profit right about there, significantly above the actual point we expected to bounce off of. So yeah, let's go ahead and make our take profit, which is kind of funny. It just happens to be where this bottom is. We're not even basing it off of that point. So our take profit, I might make it just a little above just in case, would be about there. And our risk reward ratio would be 8.84 to 1. That's a really good ratio. And then our total potential gain for take profit 1 would be 267 pips. That's about what I like for TP1s. Again, most people are not used to this. If you're used to taking, say, the signals that Blue Capital gives out, take profit ones on those signals are usually only like 30 pips, 40 pips, something like that, really small. That's not how I trade. I don't like that trading style. I don't agree with it. This trading style is a lot better. I've traded both trading styles, at least for me, with the way that I trade. This is a lot better. And something else, I actually didn't even notice this. I'm actually going to raise it a little bit because I just noticed this. I don't know why it took me so long to notice. I would say even a little higher. And the reason why, if this is accurate, is that the actual bottom? Is when you have the full chart, with this being the low and that being the high, the 0.5 is right here. Really, really close to where our 618 level is. So why not? Because of that, this is a really strong zone here. I'll mark out the zone too. So that's our zone, and we want to see price bounce off a little before or at or inside of that zone. So that might even be a nice reversal point, potentially. It won't for sure because it's already respected it once. I definitely could see price going down lower. In fact, no, I would not buy there. Never mind, I take it back. I know I'm being really indecisive. So if you want to take this trade, there's your entry, there's your stop loss, there's your first take profit. Let's get at least one more take profit in here. And for that one, let's pull up the full fib from this bottom. And let's reverse it. Yeah, I'll make it easier to read. Just 1 second. Now unreverse it. And then TP2 be a little above the 618 golden ratio for the full movement. And then, so we're only gonna have 2 take profits for this one. So only 2 trades. You can have a third if you want. It's just a free floating trade. So entry. I don't know why I don't like that. I don't like all caps. That's very ugly. So entry is at 113.980. SL. I do this in a certain order, by the way, because of my program that I have written, which I would love to go over in a private session if anyone wants to schedule one of those. Which one of these lines is it? I think it's this one. TP2. Jack, message me either on YouTube or on Slack. Okay, so here, limit of 2. I know that usually people go for 3, but you do not need 3. There's no reason. So we want to see this entry, this stop loss, and this take profits. So I'm going to take a picture of this right here, and I'm going to put it in the it's a sell limit. This is sell limit. So it's not even super likely to hit because we do have a little bit closer than usual. We have a little bit closer than usual stop loss. So please do not over leverage this trade. Do not over leverage this. This is meant to be normal, if not a little bit less than leverage, because it's a long-term trade. The TP2 that we're going for is 553 pips away, or 50 pips away. It's a little lower. 550 pips away. So account for that in your trade size, meaning use lower trade size. What I mean by that. So with that being said, we are out of time with the session.